This one is, yeah, exactly. The language was very more, is much more formal language. And at the same time, yeah, there is a methodology, but the methodology. I mean, it's included, of course. You can do it. But you don't always, yeah, not necessarily, especially because this one had a lot of results that were really strong. Remember, it's an abstract, right? So. If I were looking at this for a literature review, or I wanted to, think how would this fit? I don't know if I were a reviewer, I would definitely look at it. Some things are interesting. So it's a little bit complicated. Sometimes they don't have time for more findings or methodology, and just decided to focus on the findings, and that's okay. But I mean, it would be different if they use this kind of language in this article or in this abstract. Because if you use this kind of language here, then it would be missing something. But because the language is better,
Okay.
yeah, I believe so.
Now we want you to work with somebody, but we want you to work with your high five partner. So high five, find your high five partner, and we want you to discuss which one was accepted, which one was rejected. So stand up, stand up, stand up, find your high five partner. The first person, yes, your high five partner. The person you gave a high five to.
So not new person, right? Okay. Sorry.
If you just arrived, you can work with a friend.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because then I thought it does not have the methods mentioned, but the findings are so strong, and so it is something to note that like sometimes you don't have to put the methods, sometimes you don't have to put this in, not all the time. The greatest obstacle, the study represents an attempt to qualify attitudes towards the major findings that emerge. There's two sentences before the major findings. In this question, the second one, the greatest obstacle. It doesn't say anything like we use the survey, we use this or that. Whereas over here, we explain custom program. So they talk about what the method they use to find the stuff. But this one also uses a lot of informal language, whereas this one uses a lot more formal language. So that's also something. I'll let you remind me at time for when you think they should talk.
Okay. Thank you for working together with your high five partner. Anybody like to share? Which one do you think is accepted? Which one is rejected? Oh, we have lots of hands.
We got a couple people over here,
Wonderful.
so yeah.
Hi again. It's me, Rizky, again from Sampurna University. According to our discussion with my friends, the first abstract, it should be rejected. Why? Because on this abstract, it's only to explain what they thought, not based on the data. There are no supporting data, and also on the second and the last sentence, they just commenting the results of the research. But the second one, it should be accepted because it's more scientific, and it's also supported by the data, and the results is also the clearest.
Yep. Very good.
Thank you.
Good. Another.
Anybody from this side, different opinion, or piggyback on that? Okay.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. So I have discussed this question. So basically, I will give 2 comments for this abstract. So the first is I will describe about the structure of the content. It means like in the first abstract, it should be rejected. Why? Because the first is we can see that the structure is like misleading. The first sentence capture the introduction and also the purpose of the research. But then we can see that in the second, third, and the fourth, there are many like methods statement. But there is no finding or there is no result of the abstract itself. But when we see at the second abstract, we can see that the structure is very good and it's very brief. The first is because it captures the problems or the introduction on the first statement, and on the second statement, the author demonstrate the methodology and also the finding, the result. And yes, because the structure of the content in this abstract is very good, so I think this abstract should be accepted. And the second, perhaps, the language itself. For the first abstract, the author used like informal language. The author always said about we, but at the second abstract, it is like more formal language. I thought that.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so let's just take out our circles really quick. Take out your red and green circle. Okay, green is accepted, red is rejected. Okay, so let's look at abstract 1. This paper represents and assesses a framework. Is that accepted or rejected? Ready, set, go. Ah, okay, a lot of red. Okay, it looks like 100% of us said that's rejected. Okay, what about the second one? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, it sounds like we already know. We're missing some elements, right? Okay, so let's see. The first one, women engineers in Kuwait. This abstract begins with a clear statement of the problem and the objective of the paper. Okay. However, the results are overall results are clearly presented.
Yeah. So this is actually the second one, and it was accepted. Yeah, this was the second one, and it was accepted. Now the first one, this is a poorly written abstract. As you can see, the author shall remain unnamed. We don't want to publicly shame anybody, but this paper presents and assesses a framework for an engineering capstone design program. That's how it started, and then we can see the critique. This abstract begins with a concise statement of objectives of the paper, but then wanders from good technical writing style. So when we looked at the two writing styles back side by side, Article 1 and Article 2, we can see a difference between formal language being used in Article 2 and more informal language being used in Article 1. So even though it starts out with a concise statement, it starts to go into a direction of informality. At the same time, it's written in the first person. You can use the first person, but it's probably better to be a little bit more impersonal. But this one just overused the first person, the we, way too much. They didn't really present any of the results. It was a poorly written abstract that describes only the organization of the paper. They only show how the paper is structured, but they don't really give you anything else to learn from that, right? And last, instead, what we need to do is summarize the actual results and how the results were obtained, and not just outline the paper for the reader. So that's an example of an accepted article. The second one, the one about women employees in Kuwait, and then the second one
with engineering capstone design program. So how could we grade a rubric? If we ourselves are writing a rubric, or if we are a review board, how do we grade a rubric?
Yeah, what is a rubric first off? Rubric, yeah, show me your rubric. Okay, this is a way to assess students. Now, this is great to use when you are writing, when your students are writing. This is something you can use when students are writing. This is how you grade them. This is my expectations for your writing. This is also something the students can use so they make sure they have the elements that you request. So please use rubrics when you're writing. Okay, so let's take a look at the rubric. Okay, there are tons of rubrics out there. This is just one example. So let's look at the structure. A lot of you referred to that when we were assessing which one was accepted, which one was rejected. A lot of you talked about the structure, the elements that were missing. So as you can see, this is broken up into information structure and sentence level issues. And either it's excellent, satisfactory, or below requirement. Okay, so when you want to know, oh, what's wrong with my abstract? Well, let's look at the rubric. Do you have your method section? Okay, do you have the purpose? Okay, so here, for the information structure, the information about background knowledge of the research. Do you have the background? Okay, that's important, right? Is it excellent, satisfactory, or below the requirement? Then you have the description of the reasons behind the research. Why is this important? The explanation of the qualitative and quantitative research. The discussion of the results presented. Is it there, or is it not? The recommendations and conclusion statement. So this is very clear. This is something that an instructor can use, or yourself can use, to make sure you have all the elements there.
Yeah, and then so the other level, so we have the information structure, but then we also have sentence level issues, because language is also a very important part of submitting your abstract for international publication. So what are some things that we could look at in sentence level? We can say, is the structure accurate and effective? Meaning, subject, verb, object. Are you using, what kind of tenses are you using? Is the vocabulary appropriate to the audience? Remember, we talked about jargon. Don't use jargon. Use language that everybody can understand. Are the noun phrases accurate? Do you have issues with singular versus plural article issues? Are you writing in general or specific? What verb tense are you using, and is the form accurate? We talked about mostly using past tense, but you can use present tense for effect if you need to. Are you using the active or passive form? What forms are being used in your writing? And are your subjects and verbs agreeing? As Casey said, this is something if you're teaching. If you're a teacher, you can use. But if you are working on your own abstract, you can use this for yourself as a reflective activity. You can look at your abstract as you finish writing it and then grade yourself. Or maybe have a colleague grade you using a rubric like this to kind of allow yourself that opportunity to be reflective.
Yeah, instead of saying, hey, friend, will you look at my abstract? Give them the rubric. Make sure all the elements are there. I think everything's there, but just help me double check. So now you have the opportunity to evaluate an abstract using a rubric. Okay, so we want you to try to do this individually or with a partner, maybe the person sitting next to you. So take out your rubric, and then you also have a sheet with an abstract, collaboration strategies. Take those 2 sheets of paper out. And you be the judge. Okay. Now we want you to stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
Stand up.
Okay. We want you to now find your low five partner.
Low
five. Again, the same low five partner. Find your low five partner and discuss. How did you evaluate this abstract? We'll give you a couple minutes.